Hello and welcome. My name is Xander. Welcome to the ORM Mastery course, Level 1 for beginners. In this tutorial, we turn our attention to primary keys. We'll learn about how Django automatically creates a primary key whenever we build a new model, and we will explore how to create a bespoke primary key field. Just briefly, for anyone new to this playlist, this tutorial is part of a series of tutorials. You can find the link to the whole playlist in the video description. And then finally, before we start the tutorial, if you like this tutorial and would like to learn more, please check out our Django database ORM Mastery course on Udemy. The link to the course, which will always provide the best price, can be found in the video description. Course thumbnails may change over time, so please check out for Created by Very Academy. In the previous tutorials, we've already gone ahead and created our first model. Now notice here we haven't actually defined a primary key. I am making the assumption that you do have some knowledge of building databases and database theory in general, but a primary key tends to be a unique identifier, one or more unique identifiers in a table, therefore uniquely identifying, for example, a record in our database. So our primary key needs to be unique. Now, generally what happens here in Django is that Django will automatically create a new field called ID, and that will include an auto-incrementing number. So every time we add a new record into the table, it will then increment by 1. If we go back into the SQLite extension plugin here, just go into the table. Let me just start from the table. So open up the database, go into the SQLite Explorer here. Let's go into our table. And you can see from our table, if I just bring this up a little bit, you can see that there is an ID. We haven't actually specified an ID. There are 3 fields that we have specified. Age, is active, and name. But the ID field was automatically generated for us because we hadn't actually assigned a primary key within our class here. So you can see we have ID, right? So if we go into the table here and have a look at the data, you can see that the ID is auto-incrementing one at a time every time we add a new record into our table. So let's go ahead and build a new table. So class, we call this a brand table. So we're going to store brand names in this table related to products. So models.model. Okay, right, so in here we're going to have the name, but first of all we're going to set the ID. So we're going to create a new field. We're going to just call that brand ID, and this is going to be the primary key. So let's assign this field to a type, so models dot and let's go for an integer field. So we're going to store a number. And now what we need to do is define the fact this is going to be the primary key. So we use primary key, we saw it appear there, primary key equals, and then true. So we've now assigned this field as the primary key. So Django will no longer create an automatic primary key for this table. And now don't forget to have a look at the different field types when you are creating your field, because maybe you don't need an integer field, maybe you want larger numbers, in which case you might choose to use the big integer field, for example. So of course with a primary key we need to be careful because the primary key needs to be unique. Now let's remember the default behavior is that Django creates the ID primary key for us, and it's an auto field, so it automatically increments every time we add a new record. What we've done here is we've just set this up with a type, which is an integer field, so it is expecting an integer to be inserted. It won't be auto incremental, so we have to be careful here to make sure that this is the setup that we want to use. If we did want to go with the approach where we create our own primary keys but have an auto-incrementing number, there are field types for that. So if we take a look at the different field types, we're going to find the big auto field here. So if we take a look at this, it says a 64-bit integer number, much like an auto field, except it's guaranteed to fit numbers from 1 to a very large number. So what's an auto field? Well, it automatically increments according to available IDs. So if you still want that auto incrementing number in your primary key, then we can utilize the big auto field. So let's go back here and use the big auto field. Big auto field. Let's give that a go. So this is going to be our primary ID. And let's just for now add a name. Models. Now what I can do here, because I have Django app extension installed, if I just type in integer field, oh, maybe not. I was expecting it to generate. It's going to be one of those options. Apologies. Right, let's move on. Models.integer integer field. There we go. Oh, it's here. It's here. So you can see it kind of adds everything for me, which can be useful and something you can get used to. So right, so we've got the integer field. It's not an integer field, is it? So it's going to be a char field, right? There we go. So you can see that the same thing happens there. Let's just type in char there again. So we can auto-generate the code for this character field. Right, so let's migrate this. So we'll just close that, Control and C. Let's go ahead now and migrate and see this in action. So we need to Python 3 make migrations. That's going to prepare everything ready to be inserted into the database. So Python 3 manage.py migrate. Okay, so we've now migrated that to the database. Let's have a little look. You can now see we have the brand table in our database. So let's go into the admin area. And we'll just go ahead and also just register this so it's available in the admin area. So we'll go ahead and just register that as well. That's the brand. And let's go back to our admin site here. Doesn't look like we've turned on the server. So let's just turn on the server. And let's give it a go. Right, so I've logged in. It's admin and admin. Right, so we've got the brands. Let's go ahead and add a new brand. So you notice that the primary key here, there isn't a field provided for it because it's an auto-incrementing field. So I don't actually need to insert anything here. So let's type in, for example, brand 1, save that, and then you can see that we didn't add the string method for it yet. So let's go have a look at our database, at the data. So we'll go and show this table, and you can see that we have this number. So let's add a new brand, call this brand 2, save that. Let's go back to our database. We just need to right click again and show a table for the data to appear again. And you can see we have this auto incrementing number. So let's just, well, you can go ahead and just try some other different field types. So maybe change the field type to an integer, for example, or whatever field type you're going to need for your primary key. And don't forget that if it isn't an auto field, then the likelihood is that you're going to need to automate and to ensure that whatever you insert into the primary key is going to be unique.